There we go. Okay. All right. I think we're recording now. So hello, Nkwanzi. Thank you very much for coming to chat with us.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we'll just start this interview off with some introductions. So just your name, your year, your major.
For sure. My name is Nkwanzi Banage. I'm in my third year of undergrad at McGill. I'm pursuing a degree in honors poli-sci with a minor in economics. Yeah, that's a bit about my educational background.
Very, very cool.
So now I'm gonna ask you some info questions on the scholarship that you won. So firstly, what is the scholarship or internship called? And if you can give a brief description of the scholarship.
So I was given funding automatically for an internship I completed through the Arts Internship Office last summer. Depending on the internship you're completing, whether it's like in Canada or like in the country or abroad, whether it's remote or in person, the different awards that they hand out vary. So I was given the Dean of Arts Development Fund, which you can apply for actually independently from the Arts Internship Office, which is a little tip, I guess, if anyone's looking for, I guess, summer funding from the school. But that amount was 3,600 for the summer for the internship I was completing with the Upstream Journal, which is a digital social justice and human rights magazine based in Montreal. So while the internship that I did work over the summer was technically unpaid, I did receive funding that kind of balanced it out and made it so that I was sort of working like a paid job over the summer.
Okay, nice. So how did you find out about a internship or a scholarship? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, since they kind of go hand in hand, I guess I found out about them both in one go, if you will.
Mhm.
I actually discovered the Arts Internship Office in kind of two sets. First, I used to walk through Leacock all the time. And in those display cases, you know, near 132, that like hallway going down, they have a lot of display cases. I think there's one from like BDA, one, I don't even know what the other ones are, but there was a display case that was dedicated to the Arts Internship Office and like the different services that they provide. So I used to have a bunch of classes just in Leacock, so I would walk past that hallway and that display case all the time, and it kind of caught my eye a few times, but I kind of put in the back of my mind saying, oh, like it's my first year, oh, it's my second year, I don't need to worry about this, I'm not eligible, all this kind of stuff, which is not the right mindset. You know, it's never too soon to start looking. But I also found out about the arts internship in a bit more detail, actually through the BSN in my second year. In my first year, I worked at a golf course during my summer back in my hometown. I wasn't really thinking about school, but my second year, when I got more involved with the BSN, that's how I found out about really the intricacies of the office. And I found out, oh, like I'm actually eligible, you know, to apply for these different positions. Let me just cast my net wide and see how it goes.
Nice, really. So I don't know if you know, but how many applicants do you think won the scholarship before?
Ooh, the Dean of Arts one? Since they're different funding streams, I don't know off the top of my head how many have had or like have been awarded that one specifically. I think I want to say around 6 or 7 from the last year. But I know that the Arts Internship Office in total, I think that there were about 130. I don't take that or like take it with a grain of salt. I'm not 100% sure, but I think within that range of students who were awarded funding just broadly through the office. And that's of course, you know, allocated in different amounts depending on what you're doing, where you're going, and the kind of work that I guess you're doing over the summer. But that's kind of, I guess, the range. There are some different awards. I know there's one there's like a student employment one, there's one just for like Toronto, there's one that addresses like anti-black racism if you're working with an NGO or like an organization that addresses or like benefits black communities in some capacity. You can get like that specific award financially for that position, so it definitely depends on what you're applying for, but
Mm.
that's pretty much a baseline.
That is really interesting, actually, like the one with the anti-black. That's really interesting. I'll check on that. So, how was the application process for you? For example, the reference letters, the essay, or the supplementary question. So how was that?
It was very straightforward, which I mean, I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting. sometimes when I hear people speak of internships, they'll say, oh, like I applied like 80 different places and I sent like so many cold emails, and I was kind of dreading the hunt in that capacity because I didn't want to really, I just don't want to do that, you know? So something that's great about the Arts Internship Office is that you can select 3 positions that are like your top 3 choices, I guess, from their drop-down list of different positions that are available. And you rank your choices. So like, say I want this one NGO as my top choice, and the second one is maybe working at a film festival, and the third one's maybe trying to work at like an embassy or something like that. You can rank your choices, and they actually sift through all of the applications that they get and then select some students for interviews, and then after that end up sending off those selected or like handpicked students to the actual host organization that makes the final decision. So something I hear sometimes, I had some first years come up to me and say, oh, like, is it the like Arts Internship Office that makes the final decision? Like, is this who I need to be like addressing my reference or my cover letter to? Is this who I need to be like building relationships with? And while it helps, I mean, to know who's going to be reviewing your application, they don't necessarily have final say in who's selected. So the application process, it's nice in that regard because there are almost like 2 steps, I guess, to every application. You send in your resume and like a targeted cover letter for each of your 3 choices. And then the Arts Internship Office goes over them, selects which one of your top 3 choices are going to like forward, and then the actual host organization from there decides the final like candidates or the final picks.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Whoa, I didn't expect that. That's kind of a lot. So, how long before the due date did you start to apply for the internship?
That is a good question. There's a
Yeah.
due date I should have followed, and then there's a deadline that I did follow. But I did submit my application last year. The day it was due, I think it was it the 13th or something like that, February 13th? This year it was February 11th, and I also submitted it on February 11th. But I know that like if anyone's taking tips from this, it really helps. Motivating to have a tight deadline, really want to get things done. My cover letter could have been better. My resume could have been better, you know? So I would like definitely recommend not following in my footsteps and getting started on your applications very soon. That being said, though, the jobs or like the different internship postings went up, I think, in early January. So you like a month and a half to get all your applications sorted that I followed.
Okay. That's good. So who do you think the scholarship is geared towards? Do you think like BIPOC students or maybe STEM students or
Who's
art students?
Sorry, I don't know if Reggie, you're having the same issues. I'm having some
Yeah,
connection.
yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
say
Okay.
is I was like, is it my Wi-Fi?
No, I think maybe it's in Nkwanzi's.
It's good. It was a good little break.
Yeah, we can cut this part out.
Sorry, my connection is not good. I just switched to my hotspot. Hopefully that helps out a bit.
Okay. Well, good.
So, oh, let me restate the question. So, who do you think the scholarship is geared towards?
Oh, I would say, I don't know, I guess it's hard for me to give, I guess, solid advice because I did apply for like an internship and then was automatically given funding. But I guess for my specific situation, I would say more broadly art students. But even within the job postings that they have or like the different internship options that they have, a lot of them are advocacy centered, NGO centered, almost like if you're into like diplomacy or like IR, there are a lot of options in that regard as well. And I've had some students come up to me and ask like, oh, like I'm in studying classics or I'm studying art history and I'm not really sure, you know, like this seems a lot more like poli-sci and econ and IDS based. Like, am I still like eligible? Is it still a good idea to apply? And I would say, yeah, as long as you're like in the arts umbrella and like studying an art or pursuing an arts degree, it helps to apply, you know, like it isn't restricted solely to, for example, poli-sci students. If you're looking to like work at a consulate, like you don't have to have very narrow backgrounds when you're applying for different jobs. So I'd say it's geared to a lot of different students in that regard, because even if you're not necessarily studying like, I'm not studying like English lit, but there was like a publishing internship that you can apply for, you know? So there's no necessarily like restriction on what kind of or what type of art student can apply.
That's really good. So, can you tell us, well, you already spoke to us about the application process, but can you tell your personal experience with the scholarship application process and the strategies that you took to stand out from the other applicants?
I don't want to give a generic answer, but I fear that my answer might be a little bit generic, but it's true. It's true. I think something that's nice, of course, about applying through the AIO is that you already have all your options kind of laid out in front of you. You don't have to really do too much digging externally, which is nice. I would say, and I'm sure everyone would say, try to tailor your resume, try to go over your cover letter. It always helps to get another set of eyes. Something in my personal experience, I can be kind of shy with my schoolwork. I don't want to show people schoolwork. I always get like nervous if I have to do like peer editing or someone else is going to look at my work. I would say almost put your pride on the shelf to pass me, you know, and let other people go over your work. Because it helps to get like a second set or a third set of eyes in some cases to tailor your application. Also in your interview, just try to be as dynamic as possible. Just be as authentic as possible. You won't have to fake it. If you feel like you're faking something, it's not the position for you. It is not the path for you. If you feel like you're trying to adhere to a certain type of student that you think they're looking for, or a certain kind of personality type that you think that they're looking for, it's just going to do you more harm than good, like in the long run. So I would say, yeah, of course, apply to positions that are interesting to you, but of course, don't feel bound to certain positions because you're maybe studying a certain thing or you have to behave a certain way. Just authentically try to be yourself in the interviews, and what will work will work. What doesn't is redirection. Don't get hung up on it. But yeah, that's the advice I'd give.
That's a very good advice. Very good. So, finally, in your opinion, what are the key factors that scholarship committees look for in successful applicants?
I don't want to call it speculation. This is my speculation. This is what I think. This is what I would look for if I was like an admissions or like hiring manager of some sort. But I think enthusiasm. Enthusiasm for sure. When I was applying last summer, I didn't have a super stacked resume. I remember I was running into some people who were applying. I was looking at some people online who had applied in the past. That's also a good tip if you're looking. The Arts Internship Office has like past interns' experiences, so you can kind of see what they thought of their position. But when I was looking through, I was like, "Ooh, these people have done a lot of like academic work. This is not their first internship, and all this kind of stuff." And it's easy to psych yourself out or start comparing yourself. So I think I don't know, it can be beneficial to just cast your net wide and try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but don't limit yourself and think that you're not qualified or think that you need to have a very tailored and very specific group or like past experiences that'll like push you towards obtaining this position. I would say if you show interest in what you want to do and you're enthusiastic about what you want to do and you genuinely, you know, want to be a part of, let's say, the organization or the work that they're doing, expressing that, of course, in your cover letter, but also in your interview, you know, it helps. It helps if you, especially if you don't have much like academic experience, it can be tough for like first and second years to acquire that, of course. So.
Very great. Awesome.
Okay. So now I'll ask just like one or two questions about the actual working experience for you. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about how your actual working experience was like, and maybe give us one positive and then one thing that you would have changed or done differently.
So I completed a journalism internship over the summer. And since it is with like a social justice and like human rights oriented digital journal, you got to choose like a human rights topic of your choice, which was pretty cool. I actually, funnily enough, ended up doing the internship with one of my roommates. We ended up both doing it, but I applied through the AIO and she applied for funding like separately.
Okay.
But it was it was really cool in that sense because you got to choose what you wanted to do. A lot of internships, especially like entry level ones in your first, second, and third year, you're getting a lot of work that maybe some employees don't want to do, or some work that isn't necessarily going to be used in like a public or a final report or like a published report or something like that. But something nice about this internship is that we were tasked with writing an article and also recording and like producing a podcast episode on whatever topic we chose. So I chose electoral violence in Uganda, which is interesting because I actually had planned to spend part of my summer in Uganda like 2 years before we were even talking about internships. So I thought it'd make more sense, you know, to choose something that I'd be able to maybe like dive into while I was there, and not just kind of spend, you know, a month with my family, which would be nice, but it's also, you know, nice to do something while you're there. So that's the topic that I chose. So throughout the summer, I spent the first month, I guess May, almost cutting a bit into June, finding interviewees and sending a lot of emails, some phone calls. Very few got responses, but it's okay. I got some responses back. Just trying to interview different people on the topic. I had some people living in the States who I wanted to speak to, some in Europe, some actually like in Uganda as well. So a lot of sending emails. But it paid off because then I found some interviewees, and then we did some Zoom interviews and then some like in-person ones too. Later on in the summer, talking about the most recent 2021 general election, which was particularly turbulent, but also like their most recent election, of course. And then I spent the last month-ish, I'd say about August, sending in drafts of my article to the editor, who would go and, you know, nitpick it, send it back. I would change something, send it in. He would nitpick it, send it back. A lot of that kind of back and forth, but it was good. You know, I improved my writing definitely from a more, you know, impartial. It's tough to gauge whether something's, that's another discussion for another day. In the most objective way that I thought that I could, you know? So that was kind of the timeline of the summer. In terms of weekly timeline, I guess, all of the interns would meet with the editor once a week. Since I was in Montreal, I just went in person to meet him. But there was actually someone else completing the internship from England. He went to school in England, so he would just Zoom in every meeting. So that was kind of the day-to-day, I guess, work that I'd be doing. But
very cool. And was the organization, were they based in Montreal or?
Yeah, they were based in Montreal. It's called the Upstream Journal. You should check it out. The Repressed Democracy of Uganda, written by yours truly. You should also check it out.
Will do. Very much will do. Yeah, and then the final question we have for you is just how do you, and also feel free to kind of not answer because this is a bit of a big one, but in your opinion, how do you think that scholarship and internship providers can better support and encourage Black students in pursuing their academic and professional goals?
I think this goes more towards, it could be, I don't want to say extrapolated. I don't know if that's the right word, but it could be applied to just a lot of academic opportunities in general. But I think that explaining to Black students and presenting these opportunities as tangible and within reach and doable and not reserved for a certain kind of person or a certain kind of, I don't know, field of study or a certain academic background, like this is doable. It's doable. And I think that it starts especially with like groups like us, like BSN. We got to push it, you know? The Arts Internship Office can have their events, but if like Black students don't know about it, you know, like you can't get far from there. So really conveying this message of like these opportunities that the school like has, and like these funding opportunities are set aside for students, yes, but are also like Black students are included in that pool, you know, and it's accessible. It's a bit of work, you know, but as with anything, you got to put a little bit of effort in, but it's doable, you know. I think that even when I came to McGill, I saw all these like different, especially funding, like these opportunities, and I was like, oh, never me. Like they won't choose me. Like I can't do that. That's gonna be so no. There's gonna be another student who's more this, that, you know. So I think breaking that down could be the first step, and it of course starts with organizations like us who do have reach on a lot of Black students who might be in the same position I was in, I guess, when applications opened.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, if you have any last tips, advice, any last words, any like things you want to go out on with this?
I would say my leaving piece of advice. I mean, a lot of people say this, you hear it a lot at this school, but it's true. Like, there are opportunities. You just gotta dig. You just gotta dig a little bit, but they're within reach. They're within reach. I think that it's easy to get off put or dismiss some of these opportunities as being intangible in some regard, but don't buy it. If you put the work in, there are a lot of people who can help you. If you just don't know, like reach out to the BSN, send us an email, send us a DM, say I want to speak to so and so. I want to just learn more about this opportunity. We're there to help you. We're there to guide you. So if you're looking to follow in this footsteps or like in these footsteps or in different paths, even if they're not arts related, you know, this is definitely a good place to start.
Nkwanzi, thank you so much for
Thank you.
and then again, just a reminder to anybody that's listening, we have a scholarship and internship database up. It's in an Excel format, linked on our Instagram page for this opportunities like this and other opportunities. They're very, very good. Check it out. Yeah, again, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we will
take care.